Hi, let's talk a little bit about the project and basically about the table of contents for that project. This is what the whole project is based on. So the minimum requirements for the project are actually contained in the table of contents. This is the document that gives you an idea of what to hand in. You don't have to follow this exactly in terms of its look or its formatting. You can do a little bit more creative things if you'd like, but the idea is the information has to be there. So let's take a look at the first page. This is the title page, and you'll notice it says Fall 2013 in the upper right-hand corner. And then we've got the project title. That's the project title that you are going to have as your project throughout the entire semester. That project is going to be something in your area of your major. It's going to be something that you have some knowledge of and that you basically are going to live and die with the whole time. So anything in brackets, by the way, like that means you got to type it in and take the brackets out when you do it. So the project title may be networking upgrade, and you don't have to put brackets around that. Just the networking upgrade is fine. Then put your name down there, and then a brief description of the project. Now, the brief description of a project is probably going to come from your scope statement or from your charter statement. It's all going to be the same because a lot of this is cut and paste. The reason for that is because someone should be able to pick up one document and get an idea of what's going on with your project. So if it looks redundant, if it looks like it's been repeated on every single document, that's probably true for a good reason. So we're going to put in the short description here. It's probably going to be a couple paragraphs. And then you notice at the bottom of the page it says type your company name and address. So let's scroll on down and see the next page. The next page itself is the table of contents and what's in it. So you'll notice it starts off with business reports. And the business reports are those things that you make up. So it's going to start off with the work request. The work request is something you generate. That's the first document that you're going to generate, and it's going to tell me what you're going to do for your project. And I'm going to be the sponsor, and so I'm going to approve it or disapprove it, and you're going to have to go into some detail on that project. So it's going to contain your work request, it's going to contain your project charter, and you're going to develop that as well, and there's a video on that and how to do it. There's a video on scope statement. There's a video on communication plan, which is how you plan on communicating with everybody. Don't forget that this is really a project management class that is disguising a people management class, and communication is the essence of leadership. If somebody's not a good communicator, what they're telling you is that they're not a good leader. So we want to make sure we have a plan for that we actually put that in our thinking, and that we know how people want to be communicated with. You're going to include a spreadsheet. Oh, Excel. Yeah, you're going to include an Excel spreadsheet of the break-even analysis and the payback analysis. That's a graph that you're going to have to do. Then you're going to have a quality management plan. One of the big constraints in most projects is quality, and when time gets tight or funds get tight, quality gets downgraded. So we want to have a plan in place. Who's in charge of what, to ensure that quality is maintained. I mean, one of the characteristics of a project is that it has inherent risk, and so we're going to have a risk management plan. That's how we're going to manage, how we're going to budget for each one of the possible risks that may sidetrack or delay the project. Deliverables are things that you actually output from the project. They don't all occur at the end. Most of the time you're going to have deliverables at the end of every phase or at the end of a portion of your work breakdown. So we need a report on that, who's doing it, and when it's due. And then the last report that you're going to generate from scratch is one called Lessons Learned, and that's what you learned about doing a project in this class. It's a very personal document. Even though it looks like it's part of it, it's going to be a personal statement. Now, all of the forms for these 9 reports are already in Blackboard. So all you need to do is pull them up and watch the video on how to fill them out and fill them out. There are an awful lot of reports that we're not covering in this particular table of contents. What we want to do is give you the opportunity to see how much paperwork there is to a project and how well it's documented. These are the highlights. There may be 40 to 60 documents involving different phases and plans and executions and monitoring plans and things like that that a project would actually contain. The second part of this is the project reports, and these are actually generated from Microsoft Project. The purpose of this section is to show you what those reports look like. In other words, you get to do a little bit of investigative valuing of what those different reports are telling you about your project. So you're going to print out each one of them, but you're only going to hand in one page. On a couple of these, you may get like 65 pages. Go ahead and get the 65 pages, make it into a document, and then only print the first page for me. All right? I'm not interested in seeing all the detail. I'm interested in you being able to print the report, and that way you'll see what it actually produces. There are some reports that Microsoft Project won't produce. For example, it won't give you a report on the critical path. It'll tell you what the critical tasks are, but it won't give you that critical path diagram. So we want you to, in the next phase, go down and look at the different screenshots that you're going to have to get. Screenshots, or screen copies as they're called, are things that you're going to have to generate so that you have some kind of documentation. So we're going to ask you to do only 3, and there's a video on how to do these, by the way, in Microsoft Project FAQ. So the idea of having a critical path means you're going to have to go get a critical path screenshot by going to the one display that shows you the critical path. And of course, that's going to be a network diagram. So you're going to go to the network diagram and you're going to scale it so that you can see part of the critical path, not the whole thing, but part of it, and give yourself a screenshot of it. Then you're going to give us a screenshot of the WBS, and you're going to get a screenshot of your resource sheet. Now, don't forget, we only want the most important part of these things. We don't necessarily need the entire page. So the whole idea here is that you're going to give 3 different things. You got business reports, project reports, and screenshots that you're going to print out. And the whole document, by the way, is probably going to be between 40 and 60 pages long by the time you get finished. I'm going to scroll down to the next page, and the next page is simply some things that you can use as guidelines. In other words, you can use this to format the rest of your document. So you may have freedom here to put your dividers in any way you want to. Basically, the book is going to break down into 3 different parts. It's going to break down just as is displayed here with the business reports, the project reports, and the screenshots. The project that you hand in is going to be hardbound. In other words, it's going to have some kind of binding. It's not going to be a 3-ring notebook. That's not business quality. It's going to be some kind of spiral bound or something. Hardbound, I don't care what it is, but the idea is it's going to be a permanently bound book. And then you're going to hand that in along with your MPP or your Microsoft Project file. That's going to be loaded onto the instructor's computer or my computer, and it will be graded along with your project itself.